Good afternoon. Welcome to Yoga for Beginners. Let's all start by coming to a nice seated posture on the floor with legs crossed. You can sit up on a bolster or blanket or even a block. We're just looking to lift the hips slightly higher than the knees. Take a nice deep breath in as you start to lift up through the crown of your head. Draw your shoulders back and down. And begin to ground down through your sits bones. Now you can close your eyes here if it's helpful, or just give a nice soft gaze towards the floor. Breathing in and out through the nose. Just beginning to slow the breath down here. Maybe allowing that exhale to become slightly longer than your inhale. Using a three-part breath. On your next inhale, begin to fill your belly. Allow your rib cage to expand. And notice your chest rise. As you exhale, your chest will lower, the ribs will hug, and gently draw your navel toward your spine. So keep going here, filling up on your inhales. Drawing the navel in on exhales. From here, gently blinking the eyes open, give a few shoulder rolls back and forward. And we're just going to continue with this breath, this three-part breath, moving through the practice, remembering that your breath is your main focus. All of your postures become secondary to the breath. Bringing the hands together, interlace your fingers, forearms together, and then lift the elbows. We're going to just make some circles with the wrists here. So think about full circles, moving full circles all the way around in one direction. And just noticing any cracking or popping. moving through. Keep breathing. Switch directions. And then inhale, press through the palms. Drop your chin to chest as you round your shoulders. Inhale, release. Re-interlace your fingers behind you. Inhale, and start to lift up through the heart. Maybe look up. Maybe just keep your gaze forward, whatever feels good to you. Release the hands. Bring your hands to your shoulders. And we're just going to make some circles with the elbows. So nice full circles. Exhale as you draw the elbows together. Inhale as you open up. So we're just working on some shoulder mobility here. And you can go as quickly as you like. Moving through that cracking and crunching. And switch directions. And release. Shake out the hands for just a moment. And let's go ahead and come off of the block, blanket, bolster, whatever you have underneath you. Extend your legs out in front. And we're just going to lean back into the hands and shake out the leg bone from the hip socket. You can start to lift up through the heart and look forward, or lift the gaze if that feels good to you. And then point and flex the feet a few times. Slide the leg bone back into the hip socket, coming into a nice staff posture. Hands next to the hips. We'll do a few ankle circles. So exhaling as you press the toes away. Inhaling as you draw the toes towards the body. Full circles all the way around in one direction. And again, this can be done as quickly or as slowly as you like. So whatever feels good and comfortable to you. Switch directions. And then one more time, shake it out. From here, let's go ahead and swing the feet around and make our way into a nice tabletop position. Knees directly under the hips, wrists under the shoulders for a few cat-cow movements. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Take a nice deep breath in and look towards the top of your mat. Exhale, draw your navel towards your spine. Inhale, start to lift up through the heart and look forward. Exhale, chin to chest, round the spine, tuck your tailbone and just empty out the lower lobes of the lungs. Inhale, come back to neutral. Exhale, draw the navel in. Inhale, lift up through the heart, look forward. Exhale, round. Inhale back to neutral, and we'll do that once more. So exhale as you draw your navel towards your spine. Inhale, start to lift up through the heart, look forward. Exhale, chin to chest, round the spine, tuck your tailbone, empty the lungs. Inhale back to neutral. Inhale here. Exhale, draw your navel in. Go ahead and step the right foot to the back of your mat, and we're just going to circle, make some circles with the heel. One direction here. It's always a good idea, and then opposite direction, just a few times here. Always a good idea to just warm these joints up before we get moving. Press, bring that knee back down, and just step the left foot back this time, making some circles here with the left heel. Both directions. Drop your knee. Sit back on your heels for just a moment, and let's go ahead and bring our blocks to the mat. So we're going to bring the blocks to the mat and leave a little space in between your blocks. We're going to come into a tabletop position. To the top of your mat. So you're going to come into a lunge. So from here, you can decide how deeply you want to move into this lunge. You can stay here. This is more of a runner's lunge, or you can deepen it by tucking the back toes under and just starting to slide your left knee back. So this deepens the lunge. Now, if you get here and your hip is up, you want to square your hips off. So if you're not able to square your hips once you get into a deeper version of this lunge, then you're just going to scoot the knee back. All right? So wherever you're at, if you want to stay here in a shorter stance, you can, and then take a nice deep breath in as you lift up through your heart. Exhale, draw your navel in. On your next inhale, go ahead and start to move the hands to the knee. So here's a shortened version, or shorter stance, squaring the hips off, keeping the heart nice and lifted, and the gaze forward. You can also place a blanket or some sort of cushion under the knee for some extra support or extra cushion there if you like. You can bring your hands to heart center here. Or you can inhale the arms overhead so that the arms are in line with the ears. Drop your shoulders away from your ears here for just a moment and take 3 breaths. One more breath. Exhale, drop your hands back down to your blocks. Slide that right foot back. And then just sit back on your heels for just a moment, or just stay on your knees, whatever feels good. We're going to scoot the blocks over to the opposite side of the mat. Again, leaving a small amount of space in between the blocks. We're going to come back into that tabletop position with the hands on blocks. All right, and this time we're just going to do the other side. So we're just going to slide that left foot forward. I like to rest my foot up against my block, and that can sort of help to keep my knee and my ankle in a nice line here. And that just helps to keep any extra pressure or strain off of the knee joint. So again, you get to decide how deeply you want to move into this lunge. If you want to stay here, that's okay. Or if you want to tuck your back toes under and start to scoot that right knee back. I'm going to move into a little deeper version of the lunge here on this side, just so that you can see what each one looks like. Again, we want to make sure that the hips are nice and square. We're going to look forward. So our gaze is forward. We're keeping our heart nice and lifted. And then on your next inhale, we're going to interlace the fingers on top of that left knee. Again, relax the shoulders away from the ears. Keep the crown lifted. Keep your gaze forward and your hips square. So again, here you can bring your hands to heart center. You can inhale your arms overhead. Whatever feels good to you, where you might feel the most balanced. Let's take one more breath here. Exhale, drop your hands back down to your blocks. We're going to slide this left foot back. You can sit back again on your heels or stay on your knees, whatever feels good. And this time we're just going to move the blocks out of the way. All right. So go ahead and come into a tabletop position. Inhale, look towards the top of your mat. We're going to make our way into our first downward facing dog. So in your downward dog, we're going to tuck the back toes under. We're going to lift our knees and start to press the hips back. Press down through your heels. Your fingers are slightly turned towards the outside edge of your mat, just a bit, so that your pointer finger is pointing towards the top of your mat. You're pressing down through your heels. If your heels don't reach the mat, that's okay. You can put a slight bend in your knees. Maybe start to walk out the heels a little bit, starting to open up the hamstrings. And then let's take 3 breaths here. So look towards your navel, breathe. Keep walking it out. From here, we're going to go ahead and press down through both heels. Inhale. Exhale, drop your knees, untuck your toes, and press your hips back into a nice extended child's pose. So tip of your forehead is resting on your mat. Forearms are relaxed on the mat. You're gazing towards your navel. And then just breathe, a few breaths here. Inhale, look between your hands, and then start to reach for the top of your mat. Exhale, ears in line with the arms. Again, looking towards your navel. Inhale, look between the hands. Start to walk the hands over to the left. So we're just going to open up the left side body a bit. Exhale, ears in line with the arms. Nice side body stretch here. And you can even turn your gaze towards the armpit if that feels comfortable to the neck and shoulders. One more breath here. Inhale, look between the hands and start to walk back to the right side. So walking the hands over to the right side this time. Exhale, ears in the line with the arms. Again, you can gaze towards the armpit or just keep the gaze towards the mat, whatever feels good to the neck and shoulders. Breathing into the left side body. Inhale, look between the hands. Walk back to the center of the mat, reaching for the top of the mat. Inhale, make your way into a modified plank. So in a modified plank, your wrists are under your shoulders. Your knees stay on your mat, and you have a nice straight line from tailbone to the top of the head. Gaze is forward. Let's keep the elbows tucked in. And on your next exhale, we're going to slowly lower all the way down to the mat. Bring your forehead to your mat and maybe shake out your hips just a little bit. So from here, you want your tips of your fingers to be
just behind the tips of the shoulder blades. You're going to keep tips of the shoulders, and you're going to keep your elbows tucked in nice and tight. All right, inhale deeply. Exhale, start to draw your navel towards your spine. And so we're keeping the belly nice and tight here so that we can protect our low back. On your next inhale, gently press into your hands, lift your head, lift your heart, keep your gaze towards your mat for 3 breaths. Exhale, release all the way down to the mat. Forehead is on the mat. Spine. Inhale, gently press into the hands, lift the head, lift the heart. Keep your gaze towards your mat for 3 breaths. Exhale, release. Forehead back to your mat, shake out your hips. On your next inhale, we're just going to gently press into the hands, lift the hips, press the hips back, extended child's pose. So forearms are relaxed on your mat. Your hips are pressing down towards your heels. You're gazing towards your navel. One more breath. Inhale back into your tabletop position. Let's come back into downward facing dog. So tuck your toes under, lift your knees, press your hips back. All right, nice V here, pressing down through the heels. If your heels don't reach, that's okay. Bend the knees slightly. Gaze is towards the navel. Fingers are spread nice and wide. 3 breaths here. Inhale as you look between the hands, and just go ahead and step the right foot between the hands. So we're coming into a lunge and from our downward dog. You can bring your blocks back to your mat, one on either side of your foot. So this is more of a high lunge. So we're going to keep that knee off of the mat here. You're going to look forward just slightly. Keep your hips nice and square. Breathe. Exhale, drop your back knee. Untuck your back toe. Inhale from here. Exhale and just press the hips back. And then inhale forward. Let's do that a few times. Just moving at your own pace. Inhale back into your lunge. Scoot your blocks towards the top of your mat. Bring your hands back down to your mat. Tuck your back toe under. Lift your back knee. Step your right foot back to meet the left. Downward facing dog. Breathe. One more breath.
Inhale, look between the hands. Step the left foot between the hands this time. We're going to stay in our high lunge so you can bring your blocks under the hands. We're going to keep our hips square. We're gazing slightly forward for 3 breaths. Nice strong legs. Steady breath. Exhale, drop your back knee, untuck your toes. And again, we're just gonna move back and forth a few times. So exhale, press the hips back. Inhale forward. And just keep moving here. Just opening up, making some space in the body. Inhale back into your lunge. Scoot your blocks out of the way. Just move them to the top of your mat. Your hands come back down to your mat. Tuck your back toes under. Lift your back knee. Step the left foot back to meet the right. Downward facing dog. Breathe. Exhale, drop your knees, untuck your toes, press your hips back. Child's pose. Take 3 breaths here. Slide your hands back beside your knees, and on your next inhale, slowly roll yourself back up. Try to come up 1 vertebrae at a time. Head will come up last. So since we've been on hands and knees and then in our downward dog position for quite a few times here, sometimes that can be a little much on the wrist. So you can start to maybe massage the wrist, massage the hand just a bit. And then maybe shake out the hands. We're going to make our way into a standing posture now. So I'm going to adjust my camera just a little bit so you can get a better view. And go ahead and come to standing. And go ahead and come to the middle of your mat. And we're going to work on our warrior poses from here. So you can move your blocks, just keep them at the top of your mat just in case you need them. We're going to come to just a wide leg stance. So keep your feet a little wider than hip distance and your toes pointing towards the top of your mat. And then go ahead and inhale your arms out to a T in line with your shoulders. Take a nice deep breath in. And then exhale, relax the shoulders away from the ears. Your arms do not need to be stick straight. In fact, a slight bend in the elbows can help with some energy flow here. We're going to start with Warrior 2. We've done this before, but we're just going to turn the right toes out. Right? Our arms are still in line with the shoulders, out to a T in line with the shoulders. Our right toes are pointing towards the top of the mat. Heels are in line here. Maybe you can start to line up the right heel with the inside arch of the foot. maybe gazing over the right fingertips. So you get to decide how deeply you want to move into this warrior two posture. You can just put a slight bend in the knee. It doesn't have to be deep at all. So just start to notice how the body feels here. Keeping the shoulders relaxed, keeping the tailbone dropping down towards the mat. And then just take a look at your knee, your front knee, your right knee, and make sure that it's not starting to drop in. You want to keep it in line with the ankle. Maybe you want to move a little deeper. You want to put a little deeper bend in that knee. You can even start to widen your stance a little bit if you'd like. Let's take one more breath here. Exhale. Inhale, straighten that right leg. Turn the right toes in. Bring your hands to your hips for just a moment and just give a few shoulder rolls. Back and forward. We're going to keep working on this side for a few minutes, and we're going to make our way into triangle pose from here. So again, we're just going to turn the right toes towards the top of the mat. And you can decide if you want like a wider stance here, whatever feels good to you as far as how stable you are and how much balance you have here. So we're going to inhale the arms to shoulder height. And then on your next exhale, actually take a nice deep breath in and start to lift up through your crown. And then on your next exhale, we're going to hinge at the hip creases. And we're going to hinge towards that right leg. And then maybe bring the right hand just to the right thigh. So maybe you're here, okay? Maybe you just want to bring that left hand to your left hip. So you want to keep this area open. You want to keep your heart nice and open. You're going to keep your left shoulder back so that your heart stays nice and open. And then maybe this is good and you want to move a little deeper into the posture. So you can bring this right hand maybe below the knee, never resting on the knee, maybe below the knee. Maybe you're here and your heart is still nice and open. If you come here and you're sort of starting to sink forward a little bit, then come back up. Stay where you're able to keep your heart open, where you're able to continue to press the hips forward, and you're able to keep this front part of the body nice and open with a nice, good, deep breath. All right, on your next inhale, come on back up to standing. Turn your right toes in, hands at your hips for just a moment, and just give a few shoulder rolls. Back and forward. All right, so from here, our toes are slightly tucked in and the heels are slightly out. We're going to turn the left toes towards the opposite side of the mat here. We're just going to check and just see if the heels are in line or if the front heel is in line with the arch of the foot. So whichever feels most stable for you. Inhale the arms to shoulder height. Relax your shoulders away from your ears. Give your body the space that it needs, the fluidity that it needs. So if a slight bend in the elbow can make a huge difference here. Inhale. Exhale as you look over the left fingertips and just put a slight bend in that left knee. And then take a look at the knee and make sure that it's not starting to drop in. And if it is, just give it a little nudge. Let it know where you want it to go. Maybe you want to move a little deeper into the pose. So just start to bend that knee a little more. Keep breathing.
Most important part of the pose is the breath. Inhale, straighten that left leg. Turn your toes back in and bring your hands back to your hips. Give a few shoulder rolls back and forward and just take a moment. Notice how the body feels. Keep breathing. And we're going to try our triangle on this side as well. So again, we're going to inhale the arms out to a T in line with the shoulders. We're going to turn the left toes towards the front edge of the mat or the back edge of the mat. And again, you get to decide how deeply you want to move into this posture. So inhale from here. Exhale, hinge at your hip creases. We're pressing the right hip towards the opposite wall. We're going to bring left hand to the thigh. Maybe you keep that right arm extended. Maybe you just bring the right hand to the right hip. Wherever you feel like you can start to press your hips forward and keep the heart open. Keeping the heart open helps to keep the breath nice and steady. It keeps your prana flowing, your life force energy. And then maybe you want to move a little deeper into the posture. Maybe you want to bring your hand under your knee, never on the knee. You can keep your hand on your hip, or you can even start to reach your fingertips towards the ceiling. You can gaze towards the ceiling if you like, or maybe just keep your gaze forward. So wherever feels most comfortable to you, and wherever you're able to keep the body nice and open for a good breath here. Bring your right hand back to your hip and just start to walk the hand back up. Inhale your way back up. Turn your left toes in. Bring your hands to heart center. Inhale, lift up through your crown. Take a nice deep breath. We still have a nice wide stance here. Take another breath. From here, bring your hands to your hips. Your toes are slightly in. Your heels are slightly out. Inhale, lift up through your crown. And on your next exhale, we're going to hinge at the hip creases and fold forward. So just halfway here, not all the way. Most of the weight you should feel in the balls of the feet. Now, you can bring your blocks under the hands here. And then just gaze forward for a moment. Breathe. Maybe you want to try for a full fold with wide leg stance. And then just dropping the head, maybe a slight bend in the knee can feel good here. Inhale, make your way back up halfway. Gazes forward, take one more breath here. If you're starting to feel dizzy, maybe you can start to turn the heels in and the toes out. And actually, let's do that and make our way into a squatting posture. So we can start to walk the heels in a little more and then bring a block under the seat and bring the arms to the inside of the knees. Palms are facing forward. Fingers are spread nice and wide. Okay? You're lifting up through your heart. You're going to keep your gaze forward and just take a few breaths here. Notice how you feel here. If you want to bring the block up to a higher height, you can do that. But keep your heart lifted.
Keep your crown lifted and continue to breathe. Again, you can bring your block up to a higher height if you like, or you can, if you're feeling like you're able to, if the body is going to allow you to move the block down to maybe a lower height. Maybe you want to bring your elbows to the inside of the knees and you want to bring your hands to heart center. Let's take just a few breaths here. We're almost there. All right. So let's make our way all the way back down. We're just going to come back into a cross-leg posture here. And then switch your feet. If you normally sit with one foot in front of the other, then just switch your feet. Come back to your original seated posture, our easy pose, where the hips are a little higher than the knees. And we're just lifting up through the crown. And we're going to draw the shoulders back and down once more. Tuck your chin slightly. You can close your eyes here if you like. Take a nice deep breath in. And then exhale through the mouth. One more time. Inhale deeply. Exhale through the mouth. And then start to make your way back into a normal breathing pattern. And begin to notice any sensations in the body. Begin to notice maybe how you felt in your body before your practice and how you might be feeling now. And then maybe in a few hours, notice how you're feeling. Notice how the body feels. Pay attention to the mind. And from here, go ahead and bring your hands to heart center. Thank you all so much for joining me in this beginner yoga class today. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace and blessings to each and every one of you. Namaste.